Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I'm your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Friday, September 26th. We're going to be talking Notre Dame versus Arkansas that will be taking place tomorrow at 12 Eastern Time in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Notre Dame tries to get to 500 on the season after starting 1-2. Gosh, Jamie, they're averaging 40 points a game and they're 1-2. How is it even possible? But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Arkansas's passing game. Taylen Green, who is electric. Honestly, Jamie, I really enjoyed watching Arkansas play offense. The way that they throw the ball around and just the types of routes that they run and what they're trying to do is Bobby Petrino is doing a very good job over there. Not so much on the defensive side though. So we're going to talk about that and go over our predictions and some things that are going on in the chat. So thank you everyone for tuning in today. If you like what you hear, hit the like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so whenever it is we are going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below, Jamie. And we're starting off. We're going to start with pickleball. We're going to start off with H2 because we've got an update. I got an update on that. We have some information about how things went. Lots of pickleball matches. Ian Book. Apparently Ian Book is like an incredible pickleball player, Jamie. Josh unsurprisingly, very good at everything. Cole Mabry played, Ian Book, Tommy Kramer, Josh Lugg, Reggie Brooks, Steve Berline played. So they were involved in the exhibition matches. The tournament was won by some Notre Dame students. Let me see here. It was won by Roger Liria Sala and Pedro Lopez. They won. They beat John Gibbs Jr. and Brian Rady for the championship. So apparently it was a great event and everyone enjoyed it. If you want to get involved with H2 Pickleball on Notre Dame's campus, that's, of course, founded by alum Todd Hill. He's teaming with fellow alums Jack Gibbs and Will Howes, who is a top 10 pickleball pro, to bring Notre Dame fans to Notre Dame Pickleball Crew League. Besides football, what better way to connect and engage Notre Dame fans through pickleball? Membership's free. Members will have access to special pickleball events and discounts. If you're interested in that and hearing about their upcoming tournaments and things on Notre Dame's campus, then you can contact Todd at h2pickleball.com or reach him at 574-339-5195 to join the league. And be sure to visit the H2 Pickleball facility in Mishawaka when you are in town. H2 Pickleball is located at 55801 Evergreen Plaza Drive in Mishawaka, Indiana. And I did get some information on Ian Book. Where did he say? He said he wasn't sure. I'd be shocked if Book lost any games. He was dominating without trying overly hard. So, Ian Book, pickleball.
I mean, he was a pro athlete until, a few months ago. So,
yeah.
And he's probably one of the best athletes to ever play quarterback at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Not even probably. He is one of the best athletes ever.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he's a great, great athlete. So, and obviously that showed itself on the football field. CFB Hertz asks, has anyone listed as questionable ended up playing for Notre Dame? He's assuming Moore is out. So Leonard Moore is still listed as questionable. I think this came up last year, Jamie, where we spoke of, I can't remember who it was. There was somebody listed as questionable who played.
Okay. I do remember this. And it was, because they were questionable. And we said literally I want to say right before, well, these guys are listed as questionable.
So they're out.
And so they're out.
Yeah.
And it was Gabriel Rubio, and I can't remember somebody else because it was Gabriel Rubio, he's not ready yet. That's obvious. He's questionable. He's not coming back yet. And then all of a sudden it was Gabriel Rubio's playing. And then whoever, I can't remember off the top of my head who the other person was.
Yeah.
So that happened. So I guess it's possible, but I would say based on most of history and how it's gone, most guys who've been questionable have not played.
Yeah, and I'm not optimistic about Leonard Moore. I mean, because here's the thing: they upgraded
the other guys.
The other guys. Yeah. So they upgraded Devontae Smith to probable. So he's going to probably be in the mix for Notre Dame. They upgraded Noah Burnett to probable, so he's going to be on the docket for Notre Dame at kicker, which is good, right? That's a good thing. You want that guy to be available to go. So Leonard Moore's out. I mean, it's a pretty big deal with picking this game. When you made your prediction, did you have that kind of in mind? You didn't think that Leonard Moore was going to play?
Yeah, but I mean, I got to be honest. Even if Leonard Moore was playing, I still think like Arkansas was going to put up points anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely hurts. Like he's, the
best player on the defense.
Best player on the defense. Arguably that you could argue he's the best player on the team.
Yeah. So not having him is a big deal. What did you make of, if anything, did you make of Marcus Freeman talking about technique in playing man coverage? They need to get their technique cleaned up. They need to get kind of on the same page with their zone coverages. On the one hand, like if you have a weakness, then work on that thing, right? So I don't have there's people that talk a lot about, coaches blame the players and all this other stuff. Like if you're talking about technique and getting in on the same page in zone, like that's clearly on the onus of coaching, right? Like that's definitely a coaching thing. Yeah. So that's interesting to me. I mean, it kind of falls in the line of like, what do you expect them to say? But it also goes into the category, man, we just did not hear this in previous seasons. Never even at any point during the Al Golden era. I mean, never, not even in 22, they were talking about technique and getting on the same page. So that to me was that's not good.
The thing is, it's like, I think it was Funk Dr. Spock, who's like a longtime, ISD, Irish Eyes poster. He's been in things for and he does an amazing job with stats and stuff and all that kind of stuff. But he was talking about how like, the end of the 2022 season, and Notre Dame gave up a lot of points in the end of the 2022 season, which, obviously was the USC game and South Carolina in the bowl game.
Yeah.
The reason that like is so different is, one, the talent was different then. And they had missed Bracey and Cam Hart were out. And yes, understand. Like, yeah, you could.
There's injuries now.
More, and there's injuries now too. But the drop off isn't supposed to be as big. And I don't think it is as big. So there's that part of it. And you would never say, even if you said like Jalen Stroman, you're like, man, Jalen Stroman is not Xavier Watts. Yeah, he's not Xavier Watts, but I don't think there's a lot of people who would say, well, Jalen Stroman has proven just over the course of his career has been a better football player than DJ Brown was or Ramon Henderson was at Notre Dame. And those guys played pretty good level of football at Notre Dame, not all Americans or anything like that. So there's obviously things, missing there that I think, you never questioned if DJ Brown missed a tackle, you weren't like, oh, well, that was like, that's on the coaches or whatever. You were just kind of like, well, that's DJ, that's his limitations, or he missed that. That's a guy missing a tackle or something like that. Right. Yeah. Okay. But that's where the misses were. You didn't see Bus in the same way. And I do think there is something to the fact that, and I wrote a little bit about it in 6 Thoughts, where there's something to the point that Notre Dame has played a much tougher schedule than most of these teams. Like, Brian Freeman, right, who obviously he's the creator of FEI, Notre Dame guy, does a fantastic job.
Notre Dame professor. Yeah.
Notre Dame professor. Like, he's amazing at what he does. And he listed all these teams who, through most of them have played 4 games, have not played a team in the F+, which is, FEI and SP+ combined ranking, in the top 60.
Yeah.
There was 5 or 6 of the top 25 have not played a top 60 team yet. So obviously that's like quite a bit different than what Notre Dame has had. At the same time, there is like just the drop off the standard is just so different. It's not like, oh, well, they're struggling and they got to get through these trails. It's like, this is more than struggling. Right. So, which is why it makes it like when I'm thinking of like whether Leonard Moore is back, even with him, it's tough to just say, well, he's going to elevate so much, because even with him, and he was lights out in the Texas A&M game, it didn't matter. They still gave up like all that stuff. So, and he was playing on like one bad ankle in that game, right? So, I think it's one of these things where until we actually see like, oh, the defense looks more like the defense that we basically saw, not just Al Golden era, but from like, Elko, Lee, Freeman, and then Golden. Like you saw that, like Notre Dame had 8 or 9 years of like really, really high level defense. Until you see that, it's hard to just predict that they're just going to flip a switch.
Yeah. I mean, they could, right? And I think
but until we see it, it's tough to predict.
Yeah. And then we're looking at this matchup too. So in this matchup, I have more faith. Well, in terms of the two defenses, like I have more faith that Notre Dame could come up with a better game than Arkansas's defense, because they've got some stuff on tape that is really red flaggy, right? Like just some very poor tackling, very poor effort, like no attention to detail kind of thing.
I think talent-wise, Notre Dame has way more talent than them.
Yeah. So if one of the two teams is going to have a good performance, then I think it would be Notre Dame, just because there's the pedigree there, right? And the Notre Dame is trying to get things figured out, whereas like Arkansas, I mean, the head coach is talking about effort in post-game press conference. Like that's not what Marcus Freeman is talking about, right? He's not talking about effort. So, so looking at Arkansas's defense, they're giving up 23.5 points a game, but in the last two, so their first game was against Alabama A&M and then Arkansas State, where they won 52-7, 56-14. Against Ole Miss, it's a 35-41 loss, and against Memphis, it's a 31-32 loss. So they give up 32 points and 41 points in their last two games. Sounds pretty similar to Notre Dame in that sense here. They're giving up in the last two contests here. Let me just find this. They are giving up, I think it was exactly 6.79 yards per play, so about 6.8 yards per play. It was kind of the opposite, right? So against Ole Miss, they gave up 118 rush yards, 357 passing yards. Against Memphis, it was 290 rushing yards and 199 passing yards. So basically, whatever the strength is of the team they're playing, they were giving that up, right? Notre Dame doesn't have the running quarterback like Memphis does, but they do have two of the best running backs in the United States, which obviously helps. And watching Arkansas try to tackle Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love in this game, it might be a challenge for that secondary and those linebackers specifically.
Yeah, and I would say too, like one of the things, right, that Memphis, 8.2 yards per carry, the EPA per rush was 97th percentile. This is the thing that really stands out, though. It's like, yeah, they tackled bad in the game, and 100%. Like, that was a thing like that stood out when like Xavier Story like missed he misses the tackle at the goal line on the quarterback. He has a chance to make a tackle for loss, and then the guy goes 60. Yeah, those plays stand out. But even without, just forget about those plays. 3.9 yards per carry before contact. Like, if that happens against Notre Dame, it's like they might rush for 380. Like, it's just, it's going to be ridiculous, right? And I mean, some of that obviously is scheme, and some of that is just getting whipped, and that's just that's a problem. Like, that's a huge problem. Those are like, I think one of those things, it's the one thing to be like, wow, you tackled poorly, whatever. It's like, nah, you just got like out-coached, outbeat, like every aspect of it. They're 107th in EPA per rush, 127th in rush success rate. They've given up 24 rushes of 10 plus yards, 123rd in the country. Like, they stink at stopping the run. Like, that's just how it is right now. And then if you look at and I would say one of the other things that stood about the Ole Miss game was like the amount of yak, like the yards after catch they were getting in that game was just like insane, because guys running three, like That was another game. Ole Miss EPA per dropback in that game, 98th percentile, 9.9 yards after the catch per reception. Like, that's insane. Like, those are just horrific numbers. And as much as you could say about like, wow, Notre Dame's given up this or that, and it certainly hasn't looked good. That kind of thing is really concerning on a different level. And we can also say that even Notre Dame's passing is yuck, stink, just bad, whatever. They've played the run pretty good against better teams too.
Right.
So
right.
That I think is when you're comparing it. If you were going to say, well, which team would you pick in the matchup? You would give an edge to Notre Dame's defense in a lot of ways. But it just so happens that they're playing a really great offense.
Yeah. Quincy Rhodes, 7 tackles for loss already this year with 5 sacks. As a team, the Razorbacks have 28 tackles for loss. They have 10 sacks on the season. Let me make sure I have this right. Yeah, they have 10 sacks on the season. Is that give you any concern that they're creating some havoc and they can get after the passer a little bit?
Yeah, obviously it does, because they're 21st in PFF pass rush grade. Like, they were, frankly, bad last year getting after the quarterback, and they're way better this year. They have 18.5% havoc rate. That is something that is, that stands out about them, and their defense. At the same time, if you can't get into 3rd and long very often because you can't stop the run, that's an issue, right? So I think that is something that if when you're just relying on that, it's like we need havoc here, or else we're toast. That's a problem. And I think it is a good test for Notre Dame's offensive tackles to go against a guy like Rhodes. He's he's pretty. He's young. He was like a redshirt, like a 4-game redshirt guy last year who started at the end of last season, and he's 6'7", 275. He's a different kind of rusher than some of the other guys that have gone against, because he's more long and long arm, powerful kind of guy. Good twitch, but not insane some of the other guys that they faced. And it's going to be important to get into situations where they can't just let loose, right? And if they can do that and stay out of the long yard situations, but that's the one thing with Notre Dame, we can say it might be a little bit different because it's on the road and all that, but Notre Dame's been really good on 3rd down, and they're been horrible on 3rd down, right? Notre Dame's offense has been really good on 3rd down. They're 116th in 3rd down percentage. They're just bad in pretty much every category. And when you look at it, it's the only thing they do well is hey, they got some guys who rush the pass.
Yeah. No tackles for loss, no sacks against Ole Miss for Quincy Rhodes. So obviously he has kind of beaten up some of the inferior competition that they've played. But it's something to monitor.
Did get a bunch of pressures in that game.
Yeah. Pat Subkowski says, sorry if you guys hit this already, but what are our chances if Moore doesn't play? The chances, right? So first of all, let's talk about Devontae Smith and Dallas Golden. There's a question in here about if where Golden would play if. Oh, okay. And Moore says if Leonard Moore can't go, is Dallas at boundary, Gray at field, and hopefully Smith at nickel. I don't think so. I think they would just go Gray boundary and then go with Mark Zachary to the field again. That's what I would think they would do. I think Dallas Golden's going to get those Carson Hobbs reps that he got against Miami, where I think Devontae Smith, they'll probably play the majority, but I think Dallas Golden is still going to play. I think they've always wanted to rotate out Smith for whatever reason. It's just my impression. It could be completely wrong. And
he still might not be all close to 100% yet.
Right. Right. And like probable might mean like maybe Dallas Golden gets the majority of reps and he gets spelled, right? So I don't know exactly what that means from a probable standpoint of snap counts. I mean, how how concerned are you? Like, from Notre Dame going against this passing attack. Taylen Green is 64% passing, 9.5 yards per attempt, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I will say, here's the thing about Taylen Green, right? And you see it in the tape. Last year, he had 9 interceptions on 381 attempts. The year before that, 9 interceptions on 212 attempts is 11 touchdowns. And then the year before that, he had 14 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, right? So he throws a lot of interceptions. That being said, 9.5 yards per attempt. He has some of the best passes you've ever seen. The ball, Jamie, that he threw against Memphis, that was over the top. It was like a corner route. He threw it over the top of this kid, put it right in the bucket. I mean, you can't place it in a better spot. The safety came over and made a great play.
Insane, great play by that safety. Yeah.
Insanely good play, right? And there was another one where he threw like this deep out to the tight end, who's a really good football player. I like him a lot. And Jesse Palmer, who was doing the game, interrupted. Rohan Jones is who I'm talking about. He interrupted the play-by-play to just yell out, wow, because like he was so impressed by the throw that he made. And then a couple plays later, he throws it right to the safety, which is just like an inexplicable decision that he made. The pick that he threw for them to at 31-26 when they're kind of in the red zone area, he throws it right to the linebacker. And it's like, what are you looking at? So he's got some of who's the quarterback Jones that they have? Or they used to have. This was in the McFadden.
Matt Jones.
Matt Jones. He was like a wide receiver. He played quarterback. I mean, he is built that way. He is built like Vince Young. I think he's definitely a better passer than Matt Jones was. He's a better passer than Vince Young was. I mean, he is a great passer. He makes some bad decisions. He'll throw you the ball, but explosive. I mean, he is a very, very explosive quarterback. So I predicted in the game they're going to throw for 300 yards in this game. First of all, they have a good offense, so period. So this would be a tough matchup regardless. Given the injuries and everything and the way Notre Dame's playing, they're going to throw for a bunch of yards is kind of how I see this going.
I mean, I think if they were going against Notre Dame secondary last year, they'd still throw for a bunch of yards. Yeah. Just maybe they would get stopped in the red zone or something. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. They're really that good. Like I think it's so interesting because he was like 37th in QBR last year. Right. And he's 4th this year. He's obviously made a big jump and he is like the pressure to sack ratio. This is something I think is huge. Right. So last year, 18.1%, which is obviously not a good number, right? That you're getting sacked. 18.1% of the time you're getting pressures. Above 20 is like really bad. 18.1%, not good. 7 points down to 7.7% this year. Like that's massive. And obviously like that's a huge change. And he's getting better protection than he had last year too. So that's like a thing that's really kind of stands out. And I think that's why one of the reasons why their offense has been better is because he's taking less sacks. He's, doing a good job of escaping. And he can make like incredible throws outside of the pocket on the run. And he's making like, I would say if you just put his 15 best throws this year, they'd be better than any other quarterback in the country's 15 best throws.
Yeah.
Just what I've watched. I'm like, I haven't seen anybody close that. And he's averaging 9.0 yards per carry. Like he's like super dangerous at, in both. He's the best dual threat in the country right now. And he's absolutely lifted up like the rest of the offense. That is definitely a thing. The reason why they like even had a chance against Ole Miss and Memphis is because how good he is, really. And he makes their running game because they have people have to worry about him. And that's opened up a little bit like how Leonard helped open it up last year when the blocking wasn't as good for Notre Dame. And that really opened it up for Love and Price. So that is something that I think, is like, he's just really, really good. But, he throws the ball to the other team way too much. And, he's got four interceptions. He's got the 8th highest turnover worthy play percentage out of Power 4 passers. So that's turnover worthy plays are not just the picks. Those are like the picks that are dropped too. And so he's had a bunch that have been dropped as well. And that's been a constant throughout his career. And that is the only thing that hasn't gotten better for him, because every other area he's gotten better, but that has been a problem. So a key is, 7 turnover worthy plays the last 3 games. It's going to happen. There's going to be at least 2 in this game, probably 2, 3, maybe 4, whatever. It was Marcel Reed had 4. Well, they only caught 1.
Yeah.
You got to catch at least a couple of them. Like that is a thing. That's important. You got to be able to do that. And I mean, pressure obviously is going to be important. Like we'll say he's an unbelievable scrambler. He's got the highest PFF running grade for Power 4 quarterbacks when pressured. But he's got the 6th worst PFF passing grade when pressured. He's not a good passer under pressure. And so, yeah, you want to take the chance of he could really hurt you as if he escapes pressure and all that. But the chances with Notre Dame right now, it's so important for them to get havoc in this game and for them to get negative plays, to, create turnovers. He had 12 fumbles last year. It hasn't been a big problem this year so far, but he had 12 fumbles last year, more than any other quarterback in all of Power 4. That is going to be huge, right? You got to be able to get that. You got to be able to win the turnover battle, because he's just been too good to if he's just allowed to, if you don't turn the ball over on them, they're going to score. They're 16-17 in the red zone touchdowns this year. Obviously, the only one they didn't score was the one against
the
Memphis
fumble.
At the end. Yeah. The fumble at the end, right?
Yeah.
The back fumbled, reaching out for it. So that's going to be super, super important in the game.
Pat Subkowski is asking, how does Arkansas's defense compare to Purdue's defense?
It's worse than Purdue's defense by every metric. And it's a worse coached unit. I think that do they have better players? They have more talent than Purdue. I would say that, but it's really not that much better when you consider that it's the SEC and they're, this and that, whatever. And Purdue basically had to remake their entire roster. It's they're not as better as they should be based on the talent. And really too, the talent is probably it's an average talent overall, because they have issues at certain positions, and they've added some guys that have helped them in the portal. That has been a thing, but they've also lost a bunch of talent over the time, because it's just they can't afford, they don't have the NIL to help pay guys and retain guys.
Yeah. And
they don't have the NIL to go out and get the big time transfers either. So, Philip Lee's a guy they got from Troy, he's another edge, and he's starts for them, and he was a good player at Troy. He's not a game wrecker in the way that, he's not as good as Rhodes, right? So he's that. And, they got the kid who was going to Stanford, Neal, right? Who was the cornerback, who that guy was going to be obviously Julian Neal, who was a Fresno State transfer. He was going to be Stanford's best corner. It was a big pickup for them. And then Troy Taylor got fired, and then he bolted, right? So when he bolted, that gave him an opportunity to go somewhere else, and he went to Arkansas, and he's their best corner, and he's a good player. The problem is the other guy who's starting at corner, Kenai Walker, who missed the last game because he got a really bad concussion. So I'm not sure what his status. I haven't checked to see what his status was. They said they were going to update later in this week because he was still in the protocol, but he was carted off. That's how bad his concussion was. But I mean, before that, he was getting cooked, and he started at Oklahoma and lost his job the year before, and he was getting cooked. They got a lot of guys that weren't very good at other schools before this. So like they just don't have, they don't play well as a unit, and they don't have the overall kind of talent, even though they have like some good players. Like they could, Ball is a good defensive tackle. The Gefford kid who's like 390, like he's an okay player. I mean, he's not, for someone who's 390, you think he'd be more dominant than he is, but he's a pretty solid player. But they don't have like Sori has been a good player for them, but he's been bad this year. So it's like, if you get one guy who takes a step back, it's like Jenga, everything falls apart for them. And that's really kind of where they're at.
Yeah. We got a question in, someone sent me a message on Irish Sports Daily message board, Palin Domer. It was about basically, and I don't remember if I aired this on a show, but I remember talking to someone on the beat about this. We were talking, this was in the preseason, and I was wondering about the defense, and we were talking about how good it would be. And I was like, what if every position group is like 5% worse? Where it's just like not a huge drop off, but just with the coaching change and everything, and just the way that the things are called, like what if they're just a little bit worse every single unit? It adds up to a big deal, right? And so in talking about improvement and how the defense can improve, because I think that's kind of true, that it kind of ended up being the case where every position unit, if you look at it as a whole, is not like they're not playing as well as last year, obviously, but they're not playing disastrous. But when you look at every kind of unit, how they're playing, it's just like a little bit worse everywhere. And so on the flip side of that, if every unit just gets a little bit better, could that make a market improvement in the overall product? What do you think about that?
Well, I think the you could say D-line and linebackers that it maybe you could say, hey, it's 5% worse or whatever.
Yeah.
The problem is in the secondary, it's like
15% worse.
Like way worse than 15%. It's much lower, right? So it's like, and that was their super strength.
Well, and the problem too is there's the injury piece is
and the
kind of
injury
why
piece is that part of it too, but it's obviously more than that because they've had guys out and they've been able to replace guys and still play pretty solid, and guys get beat and you're like, okay, that guy got beat, but it's greater than that. And the problem is you hire somebody, and the whole message in the offseason was elevate. We got to challenge this because we got to make it better. And if everything is worse and the position coaches are all the same and a lot of the players are the same, but everything is worse, I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? It's pretty obvious. Yeah. And I was thinking about this too. And I mean, I'll write about it later at some point, but like there has never been this kind of drop off from a defense that has been like, okay, we're bringing this amount back. So they were like 20th in returning production or whatever. Right. And like, whatever, we don't have to list every single guy who came back who was good or whatever, but like they had a lot of guys who played really good. So to go from literally to be like second in adjusted EPA per play to 130th or, whatever it is off the top of my head, like that is, it's unprecedented. It's never like you could say BVG. He was terrible. He sucked. Really not a good defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. Did a terrible job. It wasn't this bad.
The metrics
are
he was not as bad as we have in our minds.
They were, and it was bad, but it wasn't.
It wasn't like this is worse than that.
Well, like they're like, put it this way, they're like EPA per pass was like 95th one year in his worst year, right? It's like, well, this is 130th.
Yeah.
So, and it's one thing too to be like when you're like literally back to back first in EPA per pass, from 2018 to on, they were 25th was the worst they did. So it's like, well, they were only good, not great this year. But most years, like they average in the top 10 in EPA. So they've played high level pass defense for years. And to go from that to bad is like, you really couldn't get much worse than that. Like that's just kind of the way that it's been. And there just is no other way to paint it, because it's not like Kerry Combs when he got hired at Ohio State. And that is the only person that I can think of that I tried to, and I'm sure maybe somebody else will remember. There's some other time. I know people will say about Gary Darnell. Well, I don't have all the numbers for like the Gary Darnell years and how that dropped off from Alvarez and whatever. I mean, points per game, whatever. I'm sure I could find it. But like, they don't have the same kind of metrics that you could really look at it. And I'm not going to go back and watch, whatever film of, that kind of, there's all that kind of stuff. But like, Kerry Coombs went from like, they had Jeff Hafley, who they hired, and he like took them. They were like top 20-ish defense, with Shiana, whatever. Hafley came in, they were number one. Like they just skyrocket, like went up like a rocket ship. And then they were like 60th the next couple years, which is for Ohio State. And I don't care what year Ohio State, and I don't care what the talent is, they should never be 60th in defense. Well, this is worse than that. And I'm not saying Notre Dame could get to 60th or whatever. It could easily, have that kind of play out throughout the course of the year.
Yeah.
But it's like, you didn't hire anyone to make it 60th, because being 60th is like, you could still like have a unbelievable, the offense could get and be the top 5 offense, but you could have the 60th ranked defense. And that might mean you either don't make the college football playoff or you get smoked when you play a decent team in the college football playoff. And you virtually have no chance at winning a championship with that level. Zero chance. No one has ever won a thing with just an offense. That's Oklahoma. Those are Lincoln Riley. That's Lincoln Riley in all those years. That's Lincoln Riley, USC, and Oklahoma. That's whatever, right? So that's not what it is. So it's just like, they can take a step. That's why I'm like, I mean, I don't want to just be like, well, he's going to never, there's no way Chris Ash can turn it around or whatever. Like, I don't want to say that, but it's very unlikely at this point. And it's just being realistic about it, because unless he totally changes, it's like all of us. If the defense looks so different this week, what do you think everyone is going to say, and what probably actually happened? Oh, he started listening to everything, or Marcus started taking over, or Max Bullitt started doing more, or Mickens started doing, like, that is going to be not just the narrative, but probably what happened. So yeah, it's like the kind of thing where it's very hard to just to look at it in a way where this wasn't now, and it sucks. I can't even believe to say this after 3 games in, but just to see that level of drop is just like, it's literally, I can't think of it happening. It's probably happened somewhere else. I'm sure it's happened. In the history of college football is a weird game. There's somebody who went from like, hey, you got like the top 3 defense of college football, but to go from it just, I can't remember it.
Jason Warnock says, whenever you guys talk about the defense, it makes me wish they would cancel the rest of the season. I'll tell you what it is, Jason, and I'll tell you exactly what is it. Last year, watching tape of this team was so enjoyable. I would watch it just to not even post things, just to watch it, just to feel good.
Just refreshing.
Like it was amazing. Like it was one of those, like the LeBron meme where it's like, I can't believe this is my life. Like I can't believe this is the defense that I'm covering. Right.
It is LeBron.
And this is, and so to go from that to this, it's very it shocks the system, right? I mean, to be, I guess, devil's advocate or whatever. I think if things were to turn around and just to be fair, I think to give Ash some benefit of the doubt, it would be, look, it took him a while to understand what he had in the way that he needed. Like, this isn't Ohio State, because he calls it like it's Ohio State. It's like, oh, we'll rush 4 and we'll play this zone, and that's it, right? It's like, and then the guys, they'll do the thing and all look good because I called cover 4 this time. All right, how about this time? Okay, how about this one? We'll throw a cloud coverage at you. How about that? And then that'll work too, and we'll call a stunt. And it's like, no, dude, you gotta. This isn't 2013, right? This isn't 2014 Ohio State. Like, you gotta confuse quarterbacks. You got to make it hard for them. You got to call something that makes them uncomfortable. Like, you have to do more than that. And if it was to improve, I would give him the benefit that I'd say, hey, maybe he figured something out about the game now and how it works, right? I think it does kind of remind me of Gary Darnell, because I am a sicko, and I do watch like 1991 Notre Dame games on YouTube, and it's gross, man. Like, it was that was a thing where it's like, Barry Alvarez moved on, and Holtz hired Darnell, and it was a disaster. It went really poorly, and then Holtz ended up basically canning him, and he was calling the defense in the Sugar Bowl. So like, that's a situation where even Holtz, after his 3rd season, right? Or 4th season, excuse me. After his 4th season, like, he was the one who made a bad hire. He got out of it, and then he went with Minner, and obviously things got better. But it was just, that's an example of that. But I mean, Notre Dame's got to get a lot better there, and they've got to elevate. And maybe you've got to elevate your wardrobe and the way you're presenting yourself on a daily basis, whether you're going to work or anything like that. And if you need to make those changes, maybe you need to look at yourself in the mirror, literally, and make some changes. And you can do that with ESQ clothing. I don't mean you, Jamie. You're always dressed very nicely.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang, that is ESQ. He's Chicago's go-to for the best custom suits, shirts, and sport coats. As Notre Dame reloads for the season, now's the time to refresh your wardrobe and add the perfect suit, sport coat, tuxedo, or casual jacket for fall. ESQ's master tailors combine next-level craftsmanship with the finest fabrics to deliver a fit that's built just for you. Now with showrooms both downtown Chicago and in Winnetka. Book your custom fitting at esqclothing.com and step into confidence with Chicago's finest. Mention ISD at your appointment and receive 10% off your entire purchase. That's esqclothing.com. Has Notre Dame's offense reached that point where you can just kind of count on it on a week-to-week basis for you?
I don't know. I mean, it's probably too early to just for it to be that way. Like, where we'll see, as when they're playing some tougher defense. But I would say, like, what you've seen from them is like, man, they'll carve up a bad defense.
The Miami game showed a lot.
It did, really, because I always think too, first of all, people don't understand how hard it is to call a game when you are getting whipped up front. Like, if like, we can't block these DNs. By the way, it's like every game against Miami, like, no one can block their DNs. That is extremely hard to do. And then to have like a level of success while you're doing that. And it wasn't like pretty, but like, they moved the ball and scored. And you could say that if they didn't have like the pick and all that too, it's like they probably would have won the game, right? Like, so I think that where they're at, them, I mean, that just obviously gave everyone who watched that game, if you didn't come out of that feeling good about like where things could go, because of how good Carr was in that, overall in that game, like, I think that's, it just, I don't know what you would expect, really. And I think they're really good, and I just don't see like I don't see too many teams that is left on the schedule. If you look at like they're gonna play a lot of good, like pretty good to like good offenses. The rest, like the defense, and that's one thing that's unfortunate. But playing against, they're not going to play against a bunch of great defenses. And with Notre Dame, you feel obviously there's a lot of confidence in Mike Denbrock. There's a lot of confidence in CJ Carr and like his growth and all that. You know, not to say that he won't make some mistakes here and there. Obviously, this is another road game. There's all this kind of thing there. But like you feel better about the offensive line now. Obviously, like I think they found like a good groove with the backs, and they're just, those two are just special. They're just different, and they're so much better at the skill positions. Just like the receiver and tight end, just what they can offer there. I mean, it's the thing that makes it so difficult is you could say, okay, well, we're going to take this away from you, and they can get you to something else. And that's why I think like, yeah, I wouldn't say you like, you know, put it down in stone. Like Notre Dame's offense is going to score 40 every game, but it's getting there. It's getting close to it. And I really think like, you know, we'll see, because I think if you get to the point when they're like, get to like USC, because I think USC out of like who's like left on the schedule or that's upcoming on the schedule, right? Because Boise State's defense, I mean, they blitz a lot, whatever, but it's not a great defense. NC State's defense, no, they're not a very good defense.
Yeah, they're not good.
USC is going to be a test for them. I think they got some holes on that defense, and that's going to kind of bear out as they play, because they're one of the teams that haven't played a top 60 team yet, but that they do have a lot of talent. So I think that is going to be like a pretty good, but it's like, if they go and they like cook USC's defense, I'm like, who on the rest of the schedule is going to do well against them? Like nobody else. Like it really does have a chance to be like, hey, this is a top 5 offense in college football. And then by the end of the year, like, I mean, CJ Carr is going to be so much better than he is today. So that's what's like, you know, as concerning and all this stuff about the defense, it's like the exact opposite. I'm like, I want to watch Notre Dame's offense on film. I want to see more. I want to see what they're going to do next and all that. And it's exciting
as they continue to build, you know, I mean, because they're not even utilizing the slots at this point, you know, and they haven't gotten to that part of the playbook. And look at it, they will, right? Or they can, I should say. And so obviously that's available. You're a little scratchy on your audio for whatever reason. I'm not sure why.
Okay, sorry.
Just monitor. So yeah, I think the Miami game is really, because sometimes you get into this point where it's like, well, let's see against the top defense. Well, Miami's a top defense, and they came back on them, you know, and that's no small thing. They did the things that they had to do to come back and put themselves in position to win that game. Obviously, the defense didn't let them, but they did what they had to do on offense, and that's like first game and everything. So that's something to I don't know. I'm kind of there with the offense. I mean, famous last words, but when you can just hand it to Love and Price, that's such an advantage that a team can have. You can be explosive with them. You can control the ball with them. It's just like, you know, that's why people love the running game. Kevin M says, are you taking questions? Who gets bulk corner snaps? I think Christian Gray will go the entire game again in this one. You know, I mean, I think it'll be Zachary again. You know, I think it'll just be Gray and Zachary. And, you know, look, Leonard Moore, who knows? Does Arkansas play on grass? I feel like they do.
They do.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's good for Leonard Moore playing on grass aside from turf, you know, giving him a chance. The thing is about Leonard Moore is like, if he's ready to play on the day, he doesn't need to practice. And I know he has been dressed for practice and he is preparing himself that way. Right. And like Marcus Freeman's not going to be like, you know what, man, you didn't practice. Therefore you're ready to go today, but we're not going to put you in the game. If he's ready to play, he'll play. But I think it'll be Gray and Zachary. Honestly, I think a question for Freeman is going to be What's the deal with Carson Hobbs? What's that about? He went from the nickel, who we are planning to give time with a healthy Devontae Smith. He is a rotation player for us. He plays 2 games. He's off nickel, and now he's listed at backup boundary behind Christian Gray, which we know he isn't the backup or behind Leonard Moore, because we know Christian Gray will play the boundary.
Yeah.
So he's not the backup. So, and if he doesn't play, then I'll bet you they put Dallas Golden over there. So what's going on? Like, that deserves an explanation, whatever it might be, right? And
yeah,
maybe we'll see after this game. I don't know, but it's just hard to go from like I'm in the rotation to you might as well put me on the depth chart behind Leonard Moore because I have just as much chance to play.
Yeah. I think it's a good question because I think, we kind of assumed that he would be the third corner.
Yeah, we did.
Like, I mean, that's frankly kind of how it was in the spring and what people thought. And I mean, certainly they thought enough of him to be like, okay, he's competing with Smith at nickel. I'm not saying like it happens, right? Where someone has a bad game and they get benched and it's like, then they've never heard from him. It happens.
Yeah.
But it could be just as simple as like, hey, this guy is like his confidence is just kind of not there. He needs a reset, and we're just getting him reset and making sure that everything's there. And we're gonna transition him back to outside corner and whatever. Like maybe that's the case or whatever, right? And frankly, too, if you were gonna say, okay, Carson Hobbs, all right, we get back out there. This could be a rough game to get back out there for anyone because I think like they're gonna get yards on everybody. Don't judge Mark Zachary and be like, well, he sucks if he's getting beat in this game. It's like they're gonna do a lot of things. Guys are gonna get beat, right? Like it's good scheme and stuff too. So it's gonna happen. But it is interesting because he has a chance to be a pretty good football player. And I mean, it happens sometimes where like guys just go and then that's it. But I'm hoping that he finds his kind of way back. I always think too, whenever there's somebody and it's like no one wants to be known as like that's, and maybe it is outside noise that has really affected him. It could be, right? But no one wants to be known as like, oh, that guy. Like I really feel terrible. Like I couldn't feel worse for Clifford Jefferson. And it's just like anytime that guy gets brought up in a conversation about Notre Dame football, it's always in a negative context of being like, this guy, just remember, oh man, whatever, right?
Highway 15.
Yeah. And no one wants to be remembered as that. It's like, people might remember that like Ambrose Wooden, it's like, well, I got beat on 4th and whatever, right? Against USC. But for the most part, people are like, Ambrose Wooden was like a solid player. Like that's how people would think. But no one wants to be that guy where that's your last impression. So I'm always rooting for those guys. So I really hope that, I would love to know that question. Unfortunately, there's so many other questions that about whatever that it's probably not even on the mind of most people when they're even, at a press conference.
Predictions?
Yeah. So I had it 42-35. And I do think that it's just going to be one of those games where Arkansas is going to score a lot and Notre Dame is going to score a lot, and there's not going to be a lot of stops in the game. And when it stops, it's going to be like the other team kind of stopping themselves.
Yeah.
And as much as I would like it for it to be like, wow, like Notre Dame really like made a jump and did some things on defense where you could see like, because this would be an ultimate game to gain confidence. If like you went and like slowed them down, let's say Notre Dame held them to 21 points. That would be celebration. It should be, because it's like they've scored 28 at half in each game this year. So if they were to do that, I think that would be like a huge, massive win. But I just can't predict that it'll happen that way. So I think that Notre Dame's offense is going to continue to look really, really good. Arkansas is going to look really good on offense too. And then what will happen is that Notre Dame will get a couple picks, and that will be the difference.
Yeah, I think that's how I see it too. I have 42-27 for the kind of the same. I see it playing out the same kind of way. I just think Notre Dame will get some. There will be a lot of boom for Arkansas, and there will be some bust. And I don't know that Notre Dame has that. I think they'll run the ball well, and they'll run it really well. And I think it's easier to win that way and control things that way. So that's kind of how I see it going. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. If you like what you heard, hit the like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so whenever it is we are going live. Jamie and I will be back on the postgame show tomorrow after the game is over. So check us out there. Hit us on YouTube, and I hope to see everyone in the chat for that. So thank you, everyone. We will talk to you tomorrow. Keep hitting and hustling.